Good afternoon, or good evening, as the case may be, my dear friends. Welcome to another edition of the Bill Crane Report with my good friend Wayne Weiss at my side.
Glad to see everybody again.
We're going to delve into some dicey problems today. And however, before we start, this is 9/10, one day before 9/11. So let's reflect just a little bit on 9/11, because too many people have forgotten about it.
You know, that's sad, but it does happen.
Yeah.
Particularly, I think as we go along, the young people are not going to know what 9/11 means.
That's right.
It's some date. That's all they're going to know. And that's really sad, because that was a tragic, tragic day for everybody.
We were attacked in a war-like fashion.
You remember exactly where you were and what you were doing when you heard it?
Yeah.
What were you doing?
Sure. I was, now, as you well know, I was on the road all the time.
Yep.
And I had flown within the last 25 years, every single flight I took in my life started out of Providence. Well, actually, Green Airport.
Yeah, TF Green.
Yeah. On that one day, I had a flight to Denver, Colorado. The flight out of Green would have cost me $1,200. The gal that was booking it for me said, "You know, Bill, you can save yourself a ton of money if you're willing to go out of Logan." And I said, "It'll have to be a ton for me to do that."
Yep.
She said, "I can put it under $400. I said to myself, you know, if my boss ever heard me turning that down. So I said, okay, book me. I flew out of Boston. I left Boston at 7:30 in the morning on one of the big jets that they were stealing.
Yep.
I flew to Philadelphia. And from Philadelphia, I had a connection to Denver. When I found out about it, by the way, on the way down, the captain said, "We're going to be delayed getting into Philadelphia, folks. They're routing us around New York City. There has been some sort of an incident." That's all he said. We went far enough around it so you couldn't see a bloody thing. And we landed at Philadelphia. I got off the plane to go to my other connecting flight, which was fairly tight. And I went by one of the kiosks where they serve food and that kind of stuff. I looked up at the TV, the big TV they had. Now, I had no idea that was a replay.
Okay, sure.
And I saw the plane coming in and crashing into one of the Twin Towers.
Yep.
And I can remember going, oh, blank.
Oh, yeah.
I said, oh, my God. And I was frozen right there. Well, once we found out, everybody on the ground knew because they had been watching it.
Yeah.
I had just stepped off the plane. And so anyway, I said, man alive. Tight, I better get down, jump on the connector. They boarded us.
Oh, they did?
Yeah. I was sitting in my seat on the connecting flight to Denver, and we were there for about 15, 20 minutes. And they finally, the captain come on and said, "Folks, I got some news for you." He said, "I think we're going to cancel this flight." He said, "That's the stuff I'm hearing right now. There's been quite an incident, and so eventually they canceled the flight. I made a beeline to, well, actually, what I did, I got my cell phone out. I called U.S. Airways.
Yep.
And to find out what they were doing, they said, So I then called the car rental agency in Philadelphia, rented a car.
Right away, because...
Then called the Holiday Inn and got the last room. Mm-hmm. And I stayed there for 4 days.
That was quick thinking. Otherwise, you'd have been sleeping on the floor.
That's about the size of it.
Yeah, I can remember that morning. It was just one of those crystal clear blue skies, not a cloud in the sky. And I was having coffee, and I was in the kitchen, and the radio was on. I hate to admit, I think it was that Stern.
Oh, Howard Stern.
Howard Stern was on yet then. And he was in the background on this. And I heard something about a plane hit the World Trade Center. The first thing I thought it was, it's some little, some pilot that got off course.
Some
little private plane. Yeah. And I thought, I'll go turn on Fox News or TNN or CNN and see what it is. I saw this fire, this burning building. I said, oh my God. I hadn't expected that. And as I was watching that, I sat down and watched it. I could see this plane coming from the side of the screen over, and I'm thinking, why doesn't air traffic control tell that guy to get out of there? Because that's no place to be. I figured he was landing, at JFK or one of the things that he's on that pattern. And he didn't turn. And I watched him smack right into that building.
That's the one I saw.
Yeah, that was the most sickening thing I think I've ever seen.
They didn't have good shots of the first one. But the second one, they were out shooting up there.
They're shooting that first accident, and that second one come
barreling through.
And I said, God, this is no accident. And honestly, it took the announcer back. It was 3 minutes before he dawned on him that this was...
Do you know also, they never again... You kept watching it, right?
Oh, yeah.
As I did.
I watched all day long,
Yeah. I saw the people jumping out the
me
windows.
Too.
Yeah. They never
showed that again. That's right. Because I
think every American has a right to see that.
I told my wife that. I said, you wouldn't believe this. I said, it was so bad that rather than burn to death up there, they were jumping out of the windows or out of the... And I said, watch. And you're right. They never showed it again. Never. I don't think they intended to show it in the first place, but there was so much going on. It was shown live, and I don't think they had any delay built into it.
Yeah. I'm sure there was no delay. No. Yeah. My son my oldest boy, Paul, did something very wise. He got Peter, my youngest, out of school, picked him up, brought him home, and sat him in front of the TV. And between the two of them, they sat there all day.
Yep.
I mean, that's something that is awful, but it's once in a lifetime.
It's something you have to see.
That's right.
If you don't see the violence and the brutality of this thing, you can't understand what 9/11 really was.
That's right.
Of course, we can't understand it from an eyewitness aspect, because I guess inside that buildings were just total chaos and horror.
You're faced with dying. Mm-hmm. You got no choice. I mean, the only choice you had was a 1 in a million chance that you survive somehow the jump by a big awning or something, breaks you fall, or who knows. Yep. I don't think anyone survived it.
No. And you think of all those firefighters and first responders going up those steps.
Yeah. And then the building came
collapsed.
down.
That I couldn't believe either. The first one I saw, it slid, like telescoped into itself. And I'm watching it, but I'm not believing it.
Now, I got to see some of it, but then I said to myself, Billy, go get your baggage. Mm-hmm. And they said, the flight blah, blah, your baggage is on the carousel now, 3 or whatever. Went and got it, and I went right for the rental car.
Yeah.
I figured some bozos have to bribe him $50 or $100 for a car, and I'm out, you know?
You can bet on it.
I went and got the car, and then I drove out to King of Prussia, where that huge mall is. There's a nice Holiday Inn out there. And parked there, and then I glued myself in front of the TV.
Yeah, it was. I called Monica. She was ready at work. I said, you guys turn the TV on. I said, and you might as well tell them, but, you know, at the office what's going on, because it's going to be, you're not going to get a lot done today, I don't think.
Yeah. When I got off the connecting plane, I called my wife just to say, hey, I'm all right, you know, blah, blah, blah.
Especially when you were flying that day.
Yeah, out of Logan. And she said, why are you calling me to tell you you're all right?
Yep.
I said, honey, have you watched any No.
No.
I turned the TV on, and she couldn't believe it, what was happening. But anyway, she now realizes why I called her.
Oh, yeah. It to this day, I can visualize it. Not just the reruns that you see now. I mean, when you saw it happening.
Yeah. Now, you saw that second plane coming in live.
I
believe I saw a tape of it, but I'm not positive. Maybe I saw it coming in live. I don't know.
The thing I recall is I saw that plane. You could see it coming from the side of the screen.
Yeah.
Here it was just coming like this and like this, and then it kept going right, just boom, right into it.
Yeah. Now, after I got out to King of Prussia, I don't know, probably 2.5 hours after the initial.
Right.
Then I locked myself in the room and turned the TV on, and I don't think I moved except to go get lunch or something. But, so I saw that whole thing unfold. But, you know, going back to Kennedy's assassination, I never saw anything. See, I was in basic training.
Oh, see, I saw that too.
Oh, okay.
And I saw the Sunday morning when Ruby shot Oswald.
I was in basic training down at Fort Dix, and out of the rifle range, in one of those silo-like foxholes.
That you always had to check for snakes before you got in it.
Firing my weapon, and all of a sudden, ceasefire on the firing line, lock your weapons, or whatever the heck he said. And then up out of the foxholes and fall in over here. And never told us anything.
They didn't?
Nothing.
Okay.
All right, we're going to get out in the trucks. We're going to take you back to the barracks. Finally, one of the truck drivers told one of us.
Yeah.
And then it spread through the whole truck, you know. So we went back. One guy had a portable radio hidden. We weren't supposed to have them. But he had it in his kit bag, and we hid it up we all kept our kit bags. We didn't send them back home. And we put them up in the attic. We thought we were smart. Probably every single unit has always done that.
Always done that, yeah.
But we listened to it. Yeah. But I never saw anything. I never saw the funeral, procession. I never saw anything until I got out of the service, believe it or not.
Well, I watched pretty much everything, because I saw him going to the grassy knoll and the whole thing take place. Then I watched most of the weekend, and I saw Ruby come in and shoot Oswald. I watching it because I thought, this is historic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's tragic. It's also historic. But, you know, at that point in my life, I had never seen anything that I would consider of that magnitude. So I said, I'm going to watch whatever I can here. And then I had saved some of the newspapers, too, from the day, and I don't know what happened to them. I know I had them I was a freshman or sophomore in college then. I remember it happened on a Friday afternoon, because
around, we by the time we got back to the barracks, it was like 2:15, 2:30 in the afternoon, it seems to me.
Because I was in the student union, and I heard this commotion going around the TVs. And that's what had happened. I didn't see the actual shot, but I saw the cars pulling away and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And some of the girls were screaming, and it was pandemonium on the campus, too.
Absolute pandemonium. Wow.
But you know what? You know one other thing that bothered me, and they never showed again on 9/11? They showed scenes from different countries. And they went to some of the Arab countries in the Mideast.
And they were dancing.
They were dancing in the street. They were doing that screaming that they do, and they were waving their flags, and the taxi cabs were honking their horns and flashing their lights, and they were just celebrating. It was like it was New Year's Eve.
Yeah. It was for them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And these weren't what you call terrorists. These were the citizens of these countries.
Yeah.
But they never really showed that again either.
You're right. And that's a shame, too, because everybody should see that.
Yep.
Well, we don't want to inflame passions anymore against our friends in the Middle East because of the actions of a few. It was a hell of a lot more than a few.
You bet you.
Yeah. Well, anyway, folks, 9/11 was an enormous tragedy in this country, and one that unfortunately is being fast forgotten.
That's right. I think today that's the norm.
Yeah.
We live such a paced life. We live today, and everything goes on. Everything changes and changes and changes, and things that happen just kind of get pushed off to the side.
World War II. From the kids I've talked to, they don't get anything about World War II in school. Korea is best left forgotten.
Yep.
Vietnam War, they don't touch that anymore. Nope. I don't know I do know what they're thinking, but I think it's wrong. Listen, our history is our history.
That's right. That's exactly right.
We must learn from it.
Yep. That's why it bothers me when they start to change history, like taking down the Confederate statues and things. Well, they are what they are.
They're part of our history.
That's right. They're part of our makeup.
Yeah. And by renaming Faneuil Hall into something else, I mean, is that going to make up for the sins of slavery?
No.
Heck no. Learning to live together is going to make up for the memory of slavery.
Learning something from what happened.
Exactly. Yep. Well, anyway. Well, sir, I've given you a slip with some titles of some subjects. Which one would you like to delve into first?
Why you should send Bill Crane a lot of money. That's right on the top.
Well, that's right. Just drop it out front in a plain paper bag.
Actually,
large bills.
It's not here. It just says why we should erect a statue for Bill.
That's right. We ought to do that.
That's right. His first list here is Ugly America. How about the rest of the world? Ugly America. Now, that's a term that's been around. Ugly American's been around for a long time.
Rather unfortunately, I think that's about the biggest one we've got to talk about.
Why don't we jump into it then?
All right. Well, Ugly America, we're condemned around the world as being ugly Americans. But how ugly is the rest of the world? Well, let's delve into a few things, shall we? In Hong Kong, the Sharia court canes 2 women. You know what they were caned for? Being lovers.
Oh, yeah.
Now, this is being blown way out of proportion because they were caned with a very lightweight cane by a female. And they were allowed to keep their cloak on and everything. So it wasn't as though they were beaten like the men were, but still, that's humiliating in the 21st century to be caning someone for nothing at all.
Yeah, I can see caning for a punishment, for a real violation or something. Some of these kids today need to be caned.
That's exactly
You remember in
right.
Singapore, the kid that was out keying
Yeah.
cars, the American kid?
Yeah.
Well, damn it, he was out scratching tens of thousands of dollars worth of damage.
Yeah.
Well, of course, in here they would have just said, no, you can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
But they were going to tan his little butt with a cane.
Yep.
But, you look at ugly America and the rest of the world, you do that Sharia law that you just mentioned. That is ugly.
It is.
Particularly if you're female.
Oh, well, you can't leave home without a brother, an uncle, or a father with you.
That's right.
All right?
And just this past week in Indonesia, they passed a law that a man and a woman cannot sit at the same table in a restaurant if they're not married.
Yeah.
And a woman can't go into a restaurant after 9 o'clock unless she's with her father or her brother or her guardian.
And there are too many countries that make them wear the burqa.
Yep.
Still, that all they've got is the little screen for their eyes.
But
otherwise, they're totally covered.
You notice that the men don't have to do that.
No. Now, that was in Malaysia. Now,
Yeah, you're right, Malaysia.
yeah.
Sorry, Indonesia.
So, here's an interesting 3 articles. I'm not going to read them all, but Saudi Arabia marks the opening of their first movie cinema.
Yep.
The first time. Okay? And guess what? Women can go.
Do they have to sit in a separate section?
Yeah, I think
I thought so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we always,
I believe so.
Saudi has always, over the years, have been presented in this country in a good light. They always kind of downplayed the Sharia law, the strictness of it.
Absolutely.
And it's because they were such a good source of oil with us when we needed imports.
They also stabilized the oil flow in the Middle East,
they did.
too, to keep the price
Yeah.
where it needs to be.
When OPEC would cut back, they'd step up and they'd start
Exactly.
overproducing.
Yeah, this is the first cinema in Saudi Arabia that's set up for men and women both.
Yep.
Okay.
Couldn't have a driver's license either until recently.
That's right.
They couldn't drive a car.
First Saudi woman gets her driver's license.
There you go, yep.
Okay? Believe it or not, women now can drive. There's only a few of them,
Yep.
but they can't drive by themselves.
Nope.
So you say to yourself, well, this is interesting. Saudi Arabia is leading the way in the Middle East. Yeah. Saudis seek death penalty
Yep.
for female Shiite rights activist. 29-year-old female accused of encouraging demonstrations for greater rights for the Shiite Muslim minority. They are asking that she be executed. 48 people were executed in Saudi Arabia over a 4-month period this year. And how do they execute them, you say?
I think they whack off their head.
Behead them
Yep.
is right. So we're allowing women in the movies. We're allowing them to drive. But if they speak up, we knock their head off.
No, they don't even use a guillotine.
No, they don't. The old axe.
Yep.
And it may take 3 or 4 whacks to get the job
right.
done.
So that term, ugly America,
Yeah.
we don't have anything on the world when it comes to being ugly. In fact, we look pretty damn good when you compare to some of the other stuff that's going on in the world.
Exactly. Iraq security forces patrol city streets in violent week. Now they talk about, well, Chicago, they shoot 18 people on a weekend. Over in Iran, they killed 15 in one night. And they have been deploying more and more against an alliance of powerful Shiite militia. many of them backed by Iran. And a bunch of stuff going on over there. They also burned an Iranian flag and trampled on a portrait of Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. So, some ugly stuff going on over there.
You got to remember these are all Muslims,
Yeah.
all followers of Islam, but one may have a little different than this one. This sect is a little different.
Shiite and the Sunnis,
Yeah,
right?
and they become
Yeah.
they're Saudis. There's another one of the Saudis. I forgot what they are.
Oh, there's a third one, yeah. Wahhabis.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
And they're radical.
Yeah, they're the strictest of
Yeah.
the bunch. But I mean, they consider each other mortal enemies.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They have a duty to kill one another.
Yeah. And over in Egypt, they had quite a go-round a few years ago. In 2013, there was a protest. The Muslim Brotherhood, which is outlawed in Egypt, they captured a load of the demonstrators, and they have sentenced 75 to death.
Yep.
So we aren't, we get a bad rap, but when you take a look at what goes on in some other countries, this is one that I really, really and truly am amazed at. In Germany, official records will now allow for male, female, and other to be checked off.
I think we're heading that way with our driver's license.
Other.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is for people that don't want to be identified as either.
You got to put a column in it for unknown.
Inter/diverse or diverse is that's what they're seeking, and that's been denied. But they do have other. Now, if that's not crazy enough for the Germans, here we go with this piece of news. The German government says it has made no preparations for the possibility that aliens might land in the European country. In a response to questions from opposition Green Party lawmaker...
What party was that?
The Green Party.
Like little green men?
I think it's the little green environmentalists. But Dieter Janicek, the Green Party lawmaker, said the government, there are no protocols or plans for a possible first contact with alien life. So he's criticizing the government for not having a plan.
Actually, a pet peeve of mine is that when people ridicule somebody to believe that they believe there could be UFOs, because we really know. And it could be, but, and somebody said they saw something. I said, well, if you thought you saw it, you saw it. Maybe you thought you saw something, but you didn't see something, but you believed you did, so that's what it is.
Yeah, that's right.
But my question in some of these things, how do you prepare for something like this? Do you have a reception hall? What do you serve them for refreshments? But we don't. There's a lot of things in astrophysics that we don't understand. And
there's no question.
And it's these things now. I enjoy these mind-expanding things. With my little mind, it hurts. But
well, what do you hear what the Germans are doing?
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Let's say
justifying the stance that they have no preparations. The government added it believes a first contact on German territory is extremely unlikely.
Yeah.
Based on today's scientific knowledge. Separately, the German news agency, DPA, reported yesterday the classic children's book, The Little Prince, has been translated into Klingon, the fictitious language of the eponymous space race in the science fiction franchise Star Trek.
They've been watching too much Big Bang Theory when they're trying to speak Klingon.
Over there that have a little too much time on their hands.
You're right.
And I've saved either the worst or the best for last. In India, there is a man-eating tiger on the loose.
The tiger, yep.
So the killings, this, by the way, is a female. And that settles who is the most vicious of the sexes. This
Right to him.
Nice. This man was found, and he is number 12.
Yeah.
DNA tests, camera traps, numerous spottings, and pug marks, whatever they are. Oh, tiger footprints. Have pinned at least 13 human killings on a single 5-year-old female tiger that seems to have developed a taste for human flesh and has evaded capture several times. By the way, now this part I love. At night, young men in the nearby villages carry torches and bamboo sticks and go on patrol. They have roughed up forest guards, furious that the authorities can't stop the killings. Experts say it's extremely unusual for a single tiger to have attacked this many people. India's critically endangered tiger population is soaring, a success for conservation policies, but the animals are being crowded out of competition with humans for territory. Forest rangers are now gearing up for a complex military-style operation to deploy sharpshooters with tranquilizer guns on the backs of a half-dozen elephants to surround the tiger, capture her, and send her to a zoo. But the elephants have yet to arrive, held up by intense bureaucratic infighting among India's myriad overlapping government agencies that cover wildlife, but between all of them still don't seem to have enough resources. As the death count rises, 3 villagers were killed in August. Several politicians are demanding that the rangers simply shoot the tiger. But that may not be legal. A wildlife activist seeking to block any such order has taken the matter all the way to India's Supreme Court, which may hear the case soon. In the meantime, rangers have posted on rickety wooden stands built into jungle trees, ordered to keep their eyes peeled for the tiger. But they don't even have binoculars. I don't want to kill this beautiful animal, a top forestry official said, but there's a hell of a lot of political pressure and a hell of a lot of public pressure. But it goes on to talk about the fact that they've gone from 1,411 tigers in 2006 to an estimated 2,500, which is more than half the world's approximately 4,000 tigers. India's human population and its economy have been rapidly growing as well, steadily filling in rural areas with farms, roads, and mushrooming towns.
You know, that compounds the problem.
Yeah.
You put more tigers in smaller spaces.
Sure. The same thing happens in this country.
Sure.
With foxes and fisher and deer. And so it tells about how they do. Well, guess what they've discovered? The tigers, since they've been squeezed, they are now discovering the sacred white cows.
Oh, absolutely.
And they're going after them. So now...
What easier prey for a tiger than a cow?
Yeah. So now they're all having hemorrhages over the
Hindus
fact
are having-
that they're killing the sacred white cows too. Oh boy. And this is good though. Our tiger situation is not a success story. It's a mess. We have a whole bunch of islands, and the corridors in between are wiped out or degraded, and we're too arrogant to learn from anywhere else. That was the Tiger Authority for India that spoke.
Yeah, they've had problems in certain areas with tigers for a long time. This is not a new.
Yeah. Oh,
this
no.
is not new.
No. Them killing humans is not new at all. But 13 of them is, I think, the record now. Yes.
I saw this one area. I don't know how they politically divide their areas, states, counties, etc.
Poorly.
Yeah, poorly. But these people would go in to gather firewood, and they would wear a mask on the back of their head with eyes and a mouth facing this way, because a tiger typically would attack from the rear.
Right.
And they figured if they wore this mask on the backside of their head, they'd be safe.
Yeah, it really worked well.
I don't think that worked very well at all.
Well, here's another thing, too. The Rangers have called this one T1. Mm-hmm. They've been keeping track of her since she was a cub. Yeah. Her mother was electrocuted. This is another problem. As farmers all over India string up crude electric fences to keep wild pigs out of their crops. Mm-hmm. But they're killing the tigers with these fences. It's absolutely... Oh, plus, this is good too. In January, forestry officials applied for what is called a shoot order, but an animal rights activist from Mumbai who objected to killing T1 helped to block it. Then T1 gave birth to 2 fuzzy tiger cubs, which meant any action against her could jeopardize them too. The people living near Pandakawa water are losing patience, and they're becoming increasingly terrified. Just kill it, said one guy, the daughter of a herder who was mauled. There's nothing beautiful about this animal. It ate my father, and we need to kill it before it kills someone else. We do some stupid things in this country, but I got to tell you something. This is something that never happened here, although the snail data that stopped
that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that stopped the nuclear power plant. That was a mess, but they eventually straightened that out.
Guess what Mama Tiger is going to teach the baby tigers to do?
That humans are yum-yum.
Yum.
Good Lord. Oh, I don't feel like getting involved in that one.
Now, I talked to one of my cousins yesterday, and they are having trouble with bears.
Oh, boy.
Big time problems with bears. They're afraid that they live in the country, or they did. And her brother still lives there, and they like to go for walks. They don't do it anymore because of the sighting of black bears. And they used to, when I grew up there, rarely ever saw anybody saw a bear.
No, they had a great sniffer. They sniff you from way off.
Back, yep. And now they're all over the place.
Mm. Up in Maine, same thing. Mm-hmm. The black bear population up there has exploded. But our friends, the green people, don't hunt them. No, that's awful. We don't need to hunt animals to control the population.
And my other cousin, they have it's called Sam's Produce. It's sort of like Cook's Farm here with all they do strawberries and they do melons and all that. And bears are ripping the hell out of their watermelon patches, and they're just tearing things up.
That's the number one problem up in Maine with the bears is the damn gardens. Mm-hmm. The people that raise stuff in their backyard. I mean, gosh. All right, pick another subject, kid.
All right, let's see. What do you got here? Here's a subject that I don't know. This one bothers me. That's the church problem.
Yep.
We gotta talk about that.
Yep.
At least touch on it.
Absolutely right. Let me just find it in here, and we will. The Catholic Church Problems, Part 2. Okay. I think there's two issues that we need to talk about. But first of all, I get a couple just mini little articles that I would like to just make a couple of points out of. This is about the Pennsylvania bishop that fired his predecessor. But I want just the tagline at the end. The grand jury concluded that some 300 Roman Catholic priests in Pennsylvania molested more than 1,000 children in 6 Pennsylvania dioceses since the 1940s. The report accused senior church officials of orchestrating a systematic cover-up to protect the church from the scandal. 300 Roman Catholic priests.
Well, I went to Catholic school for 12 years, and I saw it firsthand.
You saw it?
Yep. We had an assistant that used to take boys that would like to go to the movies, sit in the back row with them. God knows, I wouldn't even go close to this guy. To me, it was a weirdo. But he later ended up being the boyfriend of I think I had 1 or 2 gay guys in town, but those two got together. It's been going on for a long time, and it was never spoken about. When we were in school, the nuns used to tell us that it was a mortal sin to bring any scandal on the church. You couldn't even sue. They'd tell us you couldn't. If you sued a priest, you were going to hell. The nuns told us a lot of stuff.
Yeah, a lot of stuff is right.
That wasn't real, but they believed it was, and they tried to scare us all the time. But I can see where there was a cover-up where they wanted to keep it quiet.
Did you know the Roman Catholic Church doesn't have a lock on this problem?
Oh, no.
Over in the town of Foxborough, they had a Boy Scout leader.
Yeah.
Now, he came in and he worked at the Foxborough Company as a summer kid. When going to college, Foxborough Company was very good about doing that. Local kids, especially kids that had relatives that worked at the Foxborough Company, they'd come in for 12 weeks. And they'd pay them well. Mm-hmm. And just to goof around. I knew this guy. All right? And he worked not for me, but with me in the packaging area.
Yep.
Do you know what he talked about? Kids. That's all he talked about.
Oh, yeah. It's
and swimming classes and how much fun he has with the kiddies and they're in swimming class. I knew he was off his rocker.
Yeah.
And so didn't lots of other people in town. And they let him get away with it. Mm-hmm. Then there was another guy, an employee of the Foxborough Company, well known, that used to take the kids camping.
Oh, yeah,
and,
yeah.
Yeah, come in share my bag with me, my sleeping bag with me. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And again, oh, well, he's...
No, the churches don't have a lock on that by any means.
Yeah.
It's a lot of it out there.
But the churches, of all places, for a kid to be safe, that should be high on the list.
That's what makes it really egregious.
That's absolutely right.
It's like when a cop goes bad.
Yeah, absolutely. Good analogy.
But I for years and years and years believed that they have to change. I believe it more now. They have to change that thing about priests cannot get married and have a family, etc. I think they draw a certain type of people by having this.
Yeah, and you know what? That's another bone of contention, too. Well, there are them amongst us that say, well, let's not criticize too harshly here, especially if you say it's a gay problem. Well, then now they're painting with a wide brush.
Not necessarily gay, but they draw a certain type of individual, and probably pedophiles are in that type. Now, what really bothers me is that the real reason for why priests aren't married, prior to what was about 1100 to 1200s, they had married families and stuff. But it turned out that the families were putting in claims against the church's property. And they said, whoop, no more of this. So
Yeah. And of course, the argument against it is who's going to pay for the wife? Who's going to pay for the kids to go to college? Who's going to pay for their health care? Well, who does in Protestant churches?
go to the community church up here.
Or in synagogues.
That's right.
I mean, Jewish guys marry. I mean, rabbis marry.
They handle it.
Yeah. It's just we'll have to open the purse strings a little bit more.
Yep.
It seems to me there's probably a strongest reaction, or the strongest. I'm not even looking for. I'm looking for the word here, but I know that the will to live is the strongest emotion we have. The second, I think, is sex.
Yeah, that's right. Propagation of the species.
Yeah.
And then that's not just people. That's the animal kingdom from all across the board.
How do we take that and wrap it up and stick it in the closet? You can't use it.
You can't. That's it. That's the problem. That's where we're coming to.
That and women in the church.
Yep.
Now,
that was my next point.
Yeah. One nun said, "It's time we realize something. Nuns don't rape little boys."
That's right.
Well, that's a horrible thought, but it's true.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think the Catholic Church's biggest problem, and I love the Catholic Church, I love the religion. I have all the faith in the world in their religion and what they teach. But this stuff, the man-made rules.
Yeah, and to turn them into a matter of
dogma for the church.
Dogma, I guess that's what I was looking at. Matters of moral.
Yeah.
Morals and character.
Yeah.
That's crazy. The roots weren't there.
That's right. It's insanity.
Eating meat on Friday. That was a thing to...
Birth control.
Birth control. Another one, yeah.
Well, that didn't... all of that sort of came from nowhere. There's some biblical stuff about it, but by the same token, I mean, it's really tough to justify the church's stance on celibacy, on women in church, and I think on artificial birth control. Mm-hmm. I think that's the third leg of the stool.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not talking about abortion.
No, I don't know.
Birth control, pills, condoms.
Yep.
I can't see the evil in that.
No, I don't think. I think very few people can.
Yeah. And the Catholic Church needs to wake up. Mm-hmm. And they need to take a look at all three of these problems.
Because I used to, years ago, when we got married, we had to go for what the hell did they call it? Pre-Cana?
Pre-Cana, yeah.
Yeah, to
conference.
Go and sit with us. And I only went to one, I think. But they were talking about birth control. And, of course, like yourself, we got mouths. We don't mind speaking up. And,
never had any problem with that.
And he's telling us about birth control. And he says, the only accepted method of birth control was something they called the rhythm method at that time.
And that's not like Duke Ellington singing "I Got Rhythm."
No.
Yeah.
It was when you do it and when you don't. I said, well, wait a minute. The end result, your objective here is the same thing. So what is the difference?
Yeah, exactly.
And he
birth control
really
one way, birth control another way.
One is okay, one is not.
Yeah.
I said, come on.
Mine is right. And not only that, unmarried, celibate priests telling people how to live a married life.
That's right. That's another thing.
Now, Catholic Church better wake up. I got to tell you, there's too many labels of bureaucracy. Too many guys living the good life.
Yep.
I get power, and that's basically what they strive for is power. And they ought to blast a few levels the heck out of all the bureaucracy.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, you got to send this to Rome for the XYZ committee, and then they'll take 2 years to study it. Give me a break.
It's so much power play, just as what you brought up. Mm-hmm. I read one place that someplace a priest that is really a good priest is a priest. The monsignors, you get down to the bishops, less, because they are power brokers. They know how to play the game to get promoted to the hierarchy. They have lost sight of what it was to be a priest or a minister.
Father Conley was made a Monsignor.
Yep.
He didn't want it. But they said, as editor of the Pilot,
Yep.
you need to be a Monsignor. But he was never comfortable. He said, I'm Father Conley.
Yep. Yeah, he
was
never said,
very humble
I never
guy.
knew he was a Monsignor.
Yeah, because he never talked about it. Never represented himself as such. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this other story, California bishop rethinks lavish house.
Okay.
They bought a house for $2.3 million in San Jose, California, for the bishop to retire in. Well, there was a hue and outcry about this, and this is about as mealy-mouthed as you get. The house will be sold, and he's going to live in a rectory.
Yep.
I failed to consider adequately the housing crisis in this valley and the struggles of so many families and communities in light of that crisis. I have heard from many on this topic, and I have not decided not to move in the house. Well, let me tell you something. People that are hurting can't afford a $2.3 million house. So I think the Bishop McGrath's explanation is a little hot air there.
Yeah.
He wanted to live in it, and he got a lot of grief, and rightly so, and it shamed him into saying this. I don't think it had anything to do with the crisis.
I'm not going to name the town, but it's just not far from here. Had a situation where the pastor wanted more than the parish could afford, and he just went behind their back and tore down the old part during the night. So they came the next morning, it was done. He just, I want this. And we knew some people that were members of that parish, or no longer members of that parish. They said, I'm not staying there with this guy. I don't think he's there anymore, but...
Well, let's hope we don't have to do part 3 about this.
Yeah, I hope this just...
hope this is the end
clean
of
it up.
Perhaps we can address ourselves to something very, very interesting. Police Commissioner William Gross,
He calls himself.
said, quote, he is sick and tired of the court's revolving door. Challenged the state's judges yesterday to show some backbone when deciding whether or not violent offenders can be returned to the streets.
Yeah, and don't make these willy-nilly excuses of why you let them out.
That's right. Stay away orders, ankle bracelets do not work. We need to send a message that it is not acceptable. When we arrest individuals, it's their 3rd, 4th, and 5th time with a gun. If everybody in the village is being accountable, everybody in the judicial system needs to be held accountable. Referencing the murders this year of Yarmouth Police Sergeant Sean Gannon and a couple of other fellows too.
2 Bill.
2 minutes, okay. By alleged gunmen with checkered records, Gross said 3 officers dead, several other people dead. So yes, judges need to be more accountable. I'm not afraid to say that it's about time we step up together. The facts are there. The stats are there. Come on. I talked to a lot of people, community policing, but there's another part. Anyone who commits senseless acts of violence, shootings, they have to be arrested. That's it. if they can't be rehabilitated on this side, you need to be locked up. We're sick and tired of when we make arrests, several of the individuals, it's their third and fourth time with a firearm offense. It makes no sense to give someone a stay-away order and an electronic bracelet so they can come out here again and commit these senseless acts of violence.
Sheriff Arroyo in Maricopa County in Arizona had the best sign in his office that I think sums it up. It said, "Catch and release is for trout fishing, not law enforcement."
That's exactly right. And I tell you, then he goes on to say, the chief of the major city's chief of police association called on every 5-year review of all judges. Man, I'm telling you something. I don't know if that's perfect or not, but that's a lot better situation.
Hell of a good start.
Now. Yeah, but I am really proud of Commissioner Gross. Well, friends, we got partially into my subjects.
Oh, we got 2 out of the whatever was there.
So we'll have more next time. And
next time I want to touch is Harvard a racist institution?
Oh, boy.
They don't use race in admissions. Well, baloney, they don't.
They sure do. And I'll put that right here, Harvard. But the poor, homeless, and elderly, I got some stories on that. And North Korea. That's evolving also interestingly.
It is. I did a thing this morning about their parade.
Yeah.
There was no ICBMs in it.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, that's a big step for that guy.
I'm telling you, there's some interesting things going on.
There's back channels here. There has to be back channels.
Of course there is. Yeah. Again, I heard it again today on CNN. I happened to be in the waiting room down the hospital. Again, they interviewed people, and one of on CNN putting this on is interesting, but I don't like President Trump, but I love what he's doing.
Yep. I agree with you.
That's a conundrum that CNN is trying to figure out.
Oh, yeah.
So, friends, we have blasted through an hour. And I promise you one thing, we'll be back in a couple of weeks with more blasting.
Hang in there.
In the meantime, there's a hurricane brewing, so doesn't look like it's coming our way, but looks like we may get some rain. If we get some heavy rain, think about things that you might do in preparation thereof.
Oh, absolutely. And just keep your fingers crossed we don't get one this year.
Yeah, don't need it. All right, folks. Hey, listen, have a great one. We'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.
Enjoy the fall.
Right.